But the genocide is continuing in front of our eyes, and the Australian government is sitting on its hand doing nothing of substance to pressure the Israeli state to stop. In fact, it's actually doing the opposite. It's actually strengthened bilateral military ties. But our campaign is powerful, and it is putting serious pressure on the government. We are achieving things, even though I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes. The disingenuous frenzy around anti-Semitism, the oppressive anti-protest laws we're seeing in most of the other states, and the crackdown on free speech on university campuses are all proof of this. This wouldn't be happening if what we were doing wasn't working. It wouldn't be necessary for them. But it also shows us that we have to keep going to keep up the pressure even more. We have to drag the government kicking and screaming to do anything to help the Palestinians. It just won't happen any other way. The Labor government has totally failed the Palestinians. It hasn't just turned a blind eye, it's actively enabled and supported the genocide. And to deflect attention from its real role, it tries to smear us, people who defend human rights and international law, as anti-Semites. History isn't going to forgive them for this. We have to understand this response isn't simply because they have the wrong ideas or because they haven't been persuaded well enough. It's because support for Israel is such a central pillar of US foreign policy, and by extension, the Australian, our ruling class. They can't imagine doing anything else. So Penny Wong can get up and say how sad she is. She could, talk about how upset she is that people are dying. She made a tweet recently about the anniversary of Zoe Franken's death. Like the fucking hypocrisy of that. But what she can't do or won't do is cut military ties with Israel. She won't expel the Israeli ambassador. She won't implement sanctions. And she certainly won't close Pine Gap. I mean, remember what happened when Gough Whitlam tried that. This isn't just a moral failing, although it is definitely that as well. That's what it means to be a military ally of the United States. So with the election a week off now, it's important for us to use it to promote candidates who support Palestine, not just with nice words, but with actual actions. Candidates and parties that will actually support, resource, and build the movement for Palestine, not just during the elections. And regardless of the outcome, whether we get a minority or majority government of any flavour, the ALP and LNP still control Parliament. And various parties have talked about how they hope to hold the balance of power, and that is potentially going to be quite useful. But there actually is already a balance of power, and that's between Liberals and Labor. They vote together on 90% of issues. The real change happens out here. On the streets, at these rallies, in your workplaces, in your places of study, in your communities. And that's where we need to build a movement strong enough to force the ruling class to stop this genocide.
Yes. Yes.
But how are we going to do that? If I had all the answers, I think we'd be in a better place, but I don't. But it's something we all have to think about collectively. We have to think about ways to deepen and broaden this movement and broaden the layers. Unions of Palestine, teachers of Palestine, academics, healthcare workers, and so on. All those are a huge, important part of that. We need to support all kinds of events for Palestine, whether it's film screenings, iftar dinners, protests, direct actions, sundowners, candidates forums, all of it. We need to give people more ways to enter this movement from one kind of action to the next, from protest to direct action, from direct action to protest, from film screening to protest, and so on. In doing that, we have to be relentless in building this movement because of the urgency of it. But we also have to be patient and recognise that we have to be patient because we're trying to build a majority for change, and that takes time. Without that, we won't be able to push the Australian government to even begin to do the right thing. So we need to find all the excuses we can get to get people talking about Palestine in their everyday lives. We need to normalise it. For example, it sounds really small, but even something as simple as having bumper stickers in the back of your car, wearing your keffiyeh, wearing T-shirts, wearing a pin, just get people talking every day about it. Make it so they can't forget about it, they can't ignore it. Because the more we normalise talking about Palestine, the more we normalise taking action for Palestine. That's our path to changing Australian government policy and making our contribution to winning peace based on justice in Palestine and the world.
Mm.